What's up, guys? My name is Benjamin Hardman. I am a photographer and cinematographer based in Iceland. I'm in a brand new studio, which I just finished building. You can stay tuned for a different video where I'll take you through all the different elements of the studio build. I've actually had the last 3 months off, and that is because I have a baby girl. Me and my fiance, Adis, have had the most amazing 3 months getting to know Amelia, our daughter, and experiencing the world in a totally new way. Do you have anything to say? It's a good answer. I recently put up an Instagram story letting you guys ask me just questions about life, photography, cinematography. Very excited to get into this. Question number 1. How does working for Netflix Nat History compare to photography work? For those of you who don't know, I've spent the last actually almost 4 years working in cinematography focused on the natural world. This has required a different approach to filmmaking. I've learned so much and I've had some incredible mentors, and I'm just overly grateful for the opportunity to be part of this amazing industry and contribute to something that was a childhood dream for a very long time. If I think about how this compares to landscape photography, there are many similarities. Both require waiting for the right conditions, both require a lot of in-depth analysis and thought about composition, and both require a detailed understanding of the environment that you're photographing. I always wonder how you get the water so dark in your Arctic photos, editing or reality. Especially up in the Arctic where it can often be very, very bright, the polarizer filters really help to cut that reflection and darken the water and take away a lot of the sheen that is on the icebergs as well. So that is the key, polarizers. Did you really notice any difference between your Canon 400 2.8 and the Sigma 500 f4? On this latest Svalbard expedition, which you can stay tuned for a full expedition video series that I'll have about that trip, I took with me the Canon 400 2.8. It really has been a step up from the 500 f4. And that's not to say I don't love the 500 f4, because that has been just such a solid piece of my kit for many years now. I think the biggest difference is the Canon both has 2.8 and it's just quite a bit lighter. And being lighter, it means that I'm more easily able to just run around with this quite extensive size lens and be a little bit more flexible with how I use it. So if, for example, there's a polar bear walking, I can track it without any fatigue, and that is in situations where I can't actually use a monopod, which on a small Zodiac, it can get very tight. How did you find your personal style and especially your style of editing? That took a lot of years, and the Icelandic landscape helped a lot because I realized I really loved the foggy, misty weather, and that became a subject that I kept photographing time and time again. But I actually touch a lot on my editing style in my editing course. So if you're interested to see my full process, how I edit my images, there's a link below to my masterclass for that. Next question, how to balance creative and family life? So that is something that I am now 3 months into figuring out. One of the biggest things that I've been able to take away from this time is how important it is to be present. I could have never known how amazing and rewarding it would actually be to have to schedule better, to have to do things at certain times, and to know that you physically can't work when, even if your brain is in like full creative mode, it's like, this is not the time to work. I think more than, specific scheduling, it's the ability to switch on and off. That's something that's new to me, and it's just made every part of the day more rewarding. Is your life how you imagined it would be when you were moving to Iceland? If not, how is it different? I moved here at, I think I was 22 years old. This was 8 years ago now. I just moved here with no friends, barely any money, and a dream of living in Iceland. I didn't really care what I would have to do at the time. I ended up working as a housekeeper. I wouldn't say I had any kind of plan other than I loved doing photography, and I hoped that one day, in some way, that could be my job. I often think about this. If I was to tell myself 8 years ago what I'm doing now, I would have just laughed. I'm very settled in the family life with, our daughter and my dog and all this camera gear and things going on. And I just never would have ever dreamed that that would be possible. How do you manage slow periods of work/income as a photographer? I instantly thought when I saw this question about a time where I literally just had no money at all, and I was just sitting on the couch at this place that I was renting and just not knowing what the future would hold. I think what I've learned over the last 8 years is the several times where I have hit rock bottom, I'm just waiting for work, there's nothing on the horizon. It's usually as we're going into midwinter when everything is just on the down low. I've always managed to figure it out. And there's this Icelandic saying, "Þetta reddast," and it means everything will work out. And it really is true. For me, at least so far, it's always managed to work out. And even at the times where I'm the most stressed, somehow things will align and you just figure out a way to keep going and survive through it. I would say that freelance life is extremely hard, full of stress, but on the same time, it's extremely rewarding. Often the peaks are very high and you feel so much sense of accomplishment, achievement, and joy. And if you're able to push through the low times, I think it's a very exciting lifestyle. Love your beanies. Where do you get them? Over the years, I've tried many beanies from all kinds of different stores, a lot from skate shops, but now I have my own beanie and really excited about it. It's this one here. It is a collaboration with 66 Degrees North, an outdoor Icelandic clothing brand. We worked on this for quite a long time to really perfect the craft of the beanie, and you can adjust the length. I really like how the peak is on top and it's a nice wool synthetic blend so it doesn't get too hot. And if you would like to pick one up, they're available at 66degreesnorth.com. How is living in Iceland as an English speaker? Are you learning Icelandic? In the first 5 years of living here, it was honestly such a challenge. I will never forget going to IKEA for the first time on like day 2 of living here and hearing this crazy language that I just could not comprehend in the slightest. I think Iceland is a bit special that everyone just speaks crazy good English. You don't really have any trouble kind of integrating here, but I would say that culturally integrating into the local Icelandic way of life has definitely been enhanced by knowing Icelandic. Actually, how I got a visa to stay here in Iceland was to study Icelandic at the University of Iceland. And through that, I actually did manage to learn. It did take me all 5 years, but from the beginning of like retraining my tongue and mouth, how to move in order to pronounce these really crazy words that I never thought I would be able to say, it's all kind of led to me being fairly fluent. My partner Adis, her family, we speak Icelandic exclusively, and that has really helped me to further enhance my understanding and ability with the language. Maybe we could do a whole video in Icelandic and not sound like a 5-year-old, but at least I'll be trying. Ég held ekki sko. Þetta bara, akkurat alla leiðin, held ég. Það ekki, þá getum við sagað meira seinna ef við þurfum. Ok, gekka, takk fyrir. Okay, við heyrumst, bye. Most used lens at the moment. So my main camera system at the moment is the Canon R5C, and I've been using the 28-70 a lot. The f2, it's such a beast, it's really heavy, but it just feels amazing to use, and it was a dream lens for a long time, and that would be the one that I'm using the most. Is there any photo job you wouldn't do? For a long time, as I started to learn photography back in Australia, I was photographing and editing weddings. And that is something that really helped me to understand technically how photography works. And I'm really grateful to have been a part of that. But weddings and, portrait sessions for engagements and things like that, I'm definitely not focusing on those anymore. I understand how important they are to a lot of photographers, those shoots, and they were really important to me, but they used to stress me out. And I would much prefer to be focused on shooting nature if I can. Advice on how to one day start to have a job like yours. I've thought a lot about this and what I would tell myself when I was starting. Firstly, the Theta Reddas thing that I was talking about before, it always is going to work out in some way or not. You just have to ride the waves of stress as they come. But I think the biggest thing for me was having no B plan. And what I would say is, if you feel this urge to go into the freelance life, definitely work on having like a pretty stable base. And for me, I think it was around $10,000. I was like, when I get $10,000 in my bank, I'm just gonna go all in. And then I've got a safety net. And if it fails, I'll go back and live with my parents in Australia and figure it out again. Really just living in Iceland with no friends, no understanding of anything. It was just like all in. And that all in principle combined with the feeling of needing to survive, it just makes it work. So I think that the brands that I worked with caught on to that enthusiasm, and they're like, yeah, we want to see what you can do. We see how stoked you are. Like, get out there and explore, and let's see where it goes. And I think that enthusiasm and the passion helped to build a lot of amazing relationships with companies and clients, both in Iceland and abroad. I think that burning desire that, I see in a lot of freelancers that are just starting out that come on trips with me, they just want to send it. And I love that. And I think, being able to do that without necessarily needing the biggest, most crazy financial job, and instead just focusing on building your skills and your craft and getting an established niche or style that helps you to have a unique point of sale, I think that can really elevate you and help you to successfully achieve a freelance life. So that brings me to the end of the Q&A and the first video from my new studio space. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel to stay tuned for those future videos, and thank you so much for being here and for watching. See you in the next one.